What's up? I'm L from Acapella.
I'm OG2.
King Cool Cutter. What's going on, people?
Concrete reality.
So what's up, man? You know who we got coming in. The dude that wrote for Alicia Keys, Brandy.
J-Lo.
You know JoJo.
John Legend.
The boy got credits, man. We got Sebastian Kole, artist, writer, philosopher. Let's give it up for Sebastian Kole, brother.
Welcome. Welcome.
What's going on with you, brother? How you doing?
Man, I'm feeling great. How you fellas doing, man? Y'all doing all right?
Yeah, man, we good.
It's good to have you, man.
Good to be here, man. I'm looking forward to this talk.
Coming in and visit the little people. Don't forget about where you came from.
I know I'm fat, bro, but leave me alone, you know?
Hey, he's country boy like us, y'all. He country boy like us, you know.
Absolutely.
We're gonna talk about his upbringings a little bit later. Though. We're a country boy like us. Let's go.
All right, man. So what's up, man? What are you doing these days? I know you in LA. How long you been living in LA?
I've been out here 10 years now, man. I've been out here since 2012. As a matter of fact, the 9th of this month was my 10th year anniversary out here.
Damn.
So I've been out here just a little over 10 years working. Right now, I'm actually I'm writing a TV show, which is brand new to me, but this is fun. I'm writing a TV show. I'm working on several artist projects, just a lot of music stuff, man. I got a couple companies that I'm, actively involved in, building up and things like that, man. Just trying to stay busy,
Has the COVID slowed you down?
Absolutely. COVID beat me up. I mean, not physically beat me up, but of course, business-wise, it slowed me down a lot. But I did win a Grammy in the middle of COVID, so I'm thankful for that.
Oh, damn. We got to give it up for that. Man,
Hey, did y'all feel that big old flex he just dropped? I did go to Grammy.
No, it slowed me down a lot. I can't lie, man. It slowed me down a lot, bro.
Was that your first Grammy?
No. Let's see. I won for writing on Lettuce's album, Let Love Live, or Let Love Rule, I'm sorry.
Why don't you love rule?
Let Love Rule, yeah, that's your jam.
On that we won on Best R&B album that time. On John Legend's album, not this year, but the year before that, I did Action Speak Louder Than Love Song, so I got a Grammy for that.
Actions speak louder than love songs.
And then this year I won for Best Soundtrack for United States versus Billie Holiday. And I was also, I wrote an artist named Alessia Cara who won Best New Artist a couple years ago. I did all her original stuff. So I've been a part of Grammy-winning, projects for quite some time. This is my third project that I worked on that won a Grammy, but my fourth artist.
Congratulations, brother. Congratulations, man.
Thank you, man.
How does the Grammy change your life when you win your first Grammy? How does that change your life? You have a lot of people lined up to work with you, or is it just another Grammy winner?
You'd be surprised. It's a little bit of both, right? Like, I mean, a Grammy means more to the audience than it does necessarily to the performers, because every year there are going to be lots of people who win Grammys. You know what I'm saying? So as a resume builder, it's great to be able to say, hey, that's a Grammy winner. But I think it was Andre 3000 that said, it ain't where you from, but where you pay rent. So in other words, it's like, what'd you do today? I mean, it's great that you won that yesterday, but we're doing this today, and how competent are you in this? So you have to just keep on your toes.
I hear you saying that, but I'm still trying to. I'm trying to act like.
I mean, you got to imagine. Like, let's say you write on let's say you win on Best Hip Hop Album, right? Well, think about how many people wrote on that album. It's a ton of people who gonna get Grammys out of that, right? And you're
but
really
ain't nobody
proud.
care about them. Ain't nobody care about them. They care about you. If you're in the club, you say, "I won a Grammy." What they gonna say? "Oh, he won a Grammy."
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Look, I'm sorry. He's speaking modest, but look, I'm gonna flex, especially with them new artists who want to come in the studio. Oh, well, what have you done? What have I done?
Man, but normally by the time when you walk into a studio with somebody though, bro, like they already know, they know what you are. They
yeah,
you don't, it's a reason you're in that room. You know what I'm saying? It's a reason that that they invited me here to do this, you know? And so for the most part, it's a general respect. Music is not as egotistical as people think it is. For the most part, man, we're just people trying to make a paycheck, you know, like, and we know that, you know, my job here today is to try to make the best piece of music I can make. That's it, you know? So we put for the most, in my experience, we put the egos aside, man. We just come in and try to do the best that we can today. You know?
True that. That's nice. That's nice.
So it sounds like you still kept your humility, because you could be Hollywood, but
you heard what I said? That's nice in theory. Yeah.
It really worked like that, man. I'm not even tripping, bro. It really works like that.
But you try to get in the club, if you try to get in the club in a long line, you're like, yo, dog, I wrote that Grammy hit on John Legend. Let me up in here. You see how that works?
Sometimes, man, but keep in mind, bro, I live in LA, right? So again, everybody can say I wrote blah, 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 or I was in this movie, or I was on that TV show, or blah, blah, blah. Like everybody can say that. So, I mean, while it's great to be able to say, now if I go home, hey, I'm a Grammy Award winner, you know what I'm saying? But like, but also at home, I'm like, people know me, right? So I'm a business owner, I'm a restaurant owner, a bar owner. So people already know me. So it's not like I don't have to go do that either, you know. But out here, man, again, we're all in the same music industry. We all know each other, or you know, film, television. You know, we're around each other. So it's not like it's not the flex that you would think it is.
Hey, fellas, you just notice how he glossed over that he's a restaurant owner, a bar owner. You see how he just glossed over that in Alabama? Did you see how he glossed over that like we wasn't listening? Like, yeah, entrepreneur, like the flex is like real right now. It's real right now. You see how he just,
that's not
he
a
just
flex,
glossed over that.
That's not a flex. That's a fact, bro. That's not a flex.
Hey, I like it. Yeah.
I'm just trying to do the best I can to make my hometown proud of me. You know what I'm saying? And that's
tell us about the business. Tell us about the business, the bar, and because that's what you're doing right now. Tell us about the bar and the restaurant.
Okay. Well, if you're ever in Birmingham, Alabama, man, make sure you stop by Michael's Steakhouse. We are the only Black-owned fine dining establishment in the state of Alabama. So if you're looking for some fine dining and you want to support Black-owned businesses, make sure you stop by Michael's. That's downstairs. Upstairs, we have Bar Sebastian. We have upscale cocktail bar, right? Sports bar, cocktail bar. We're right next to Regents Field in Birmingham, Alabama on 1st Avenue South.
Where the cigars at, man? They got cigars up in there?
We do not carry cigars yet. We're trying to get permits for cigars. Alabama's a little weird on that.
We'll talk after we get out the air.
Go out and drop them.
Because I own a cigar company. It's called Divine Leaf. We sponsor the show. I just was in American Whiskey Magazine last month. Now that's a flex. So I just want y'all to know that is a flex. And I will be in a cigar aficionado in probably about the last of the year.
So we got Divine Leaf in the house.
As always, shout out to Divine Leaf.
Yes, sir.
That is a flex. That is a flex, bro.
That was a flex. I know that was.
So let's move forward. Let's dig into your history. You were born and raised in Alabama.
Country boy.
Absolutely, man. Born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama. My mom, my mother and father were both preachers. I grew up Pentecostal. We went to Holy Ghost Filled Fire Baptized Church. So that's why I learned to make music. I'm forever appreciative of that. But it was because our church didn't allow outside songs. So all the songs we sang at church were songs that we wrote. And I wanted to be a part of that. I actually learned how to play the piano just because I didn't want to sit in the audience anymore. And piano players got juice, and I wanted juice. So I started playing piano so I get some juice. You know what I'm saying? And you just kind of kept with that. We left that church. My mom and dad ended up pastoring the church for a while. Blah, blah. I ended up kind of studying into theology, blah, blah, blah. But I spent a lot of time in church, like teaching. I actually became a teacher myself, you know, teaching and preaching and blah, blah, blah. I played for other churches, so I was directing choirs, all of this stuff, you know, just very much a part of that world.
So basically you started off as a gospel artist?
Absolutely. The first song I ever wrote that was published was for my god brother, who used to be a part of John P. Key Community Choir.
Oh, damn.
And his name was Eric Matthews, and I did a song on his first album. And that was like my first time ever getting a published song. I was 12 years old, man. You couldn't tell me nothing. So, you know, that was, so I started out doing gospel, and but I'm one of those people who is just dumb enough to believe you and just smart enough to keep looking. You know, right? Like if you tell me something, you might get me on that. I'm not saying I'm not gullible. I have been gullible in my life, but I'm smart enough to figure out that you got me. You know, so I kept studying, kept looking into things, kept just kind of following the rabbit hole to where it went, right? And that took me all around the world and through a lot of different, what I like to call Jesus, right? It was the different versions of Jesus, and yeah, just kind of followed that where that went and tried my best to be true to whatever that belief was at the time. So I wanted to give it a fair shake, you know. So I tried to be true to whatever that belief was and just keep studying.
When did you decide to kind of start writing secular music?
In my mind, music was music. As long as I wasn't saying anything bad, I felt like it was all gospel. Right. I could write a song because, for example, Amazing Grace does not have the word Jesus or God in it.
True.
Right. True. Just about grace. So I felt like as long as I wasn't saying anything bad, it was gospel. And I still feel that way. I mean, not necessarily that it is gospel, but if you go look up the songs I've written, read the lyrics, I haven't said anything bad to this day. I never had to sell my soul or any of that. You know what I'm saying? I've always just kind of stuck to what I believe to be good messaging and, you know, things that I can stand behind and say that I wrote.
So it sounds like you were pretty versatile with your writing.
I like to think so. I tell people all the time, I think I can write anything. Now, that's not always true, but I think I can write anything. You know, I want to give it a fair shot. You know, whenever I walk into a room with a producer, I'm always like, hey, man, give me that track that you love, but ain't nobody wrote it. Like, you can't find nobody to write over. That's the one I want to try. Because, you know, I feel like I can write anything, and I feel like it's a challenge. You know, I like to challenge myself to, you know, open my vocabulary and my melodies and my harmonies, and, you know, just really push myself as a writer because I want to be a better writer today than I was yesterday. You know, blah blah blah.
Tell me about your first album that you produced and you sung on, and as far as I looked up, it was like 2006 when your first solo album dropped. 2016.
Wow. Okay. So my first solo project was called Soup. It was on Motown. And it was just like I called it Soup because it was Southern urban pop. And it was just like a collection of songs I wanted to write kind of as an experiment in sounds. I didn't really know like what genre to put it in. So I was just like, I'm just going to experiment with some sounds and some words. And I really enjoyed putting that album together. Worked with a lot of really cool people on that. And it was during that process that I met Alessia Cara. And we ended up doing her album, and that's who won the Best New Artist. That, you know, and I wrote all the stuff on her album.
I ask myself, what am I doing here?
That project actually did me really well. I had a lot of like placements that were in. I don't know if you guys watch Grey's Anatomy. I want to say it was like season 14. I had like a song on like 6 episodes of that season. I was all over that season. I was really appreciative of that. To Shonda Rhimes and their whole family. I'm still very thankful to them for that.
Wait a minute. So you signed with Motown. We can't just skip over that. We talking about Motown, bro.
Sunshine, blue skies.
Did you know somebody that knows somebody, your uncle's cousin, nephew? What's up?
Nah, man, nah. Again, 10 years ago on the 9th, actually, let me just give you the whole backstory. All right, I'm 40 years old. I was 27 years old. I'm gonna try to make this fast, but you need to know the whole story. I was 27 years old when my mom said, yo, you should quit your job. You really should make music for a living. Give yourself a little time, quit your job. I'll help, I'll help support you. Give yourself a shot. And I was like, all right. So I quit my job. And because I was working at a bank, I was playing for a church. I was doing like side gigs and hustles. I was, playing in bars and stuff. And she was like, your day job just taking too much out of you. Just quit it. So I quit. And I was 27. And she was like, you should really try to do this. So what I did was I took some time and I wrote an album. I wrote an album called Live from My Notebook. And I put together a band in my hometown. And I mean, I don't want to brag on these boys, but each of these guys is an absolute world-class musician. And we were all just sitting there in Birmingham. And it's so crazy. Most of them are touring now with other musicians or, producing TV shows. Whatever. Like these are world-class musicians. And so we started this little band. It was me and those guys. And we, started doing music around home. and picking up fairly well around home. Got some radio play at home, but just couldn't figure out how to break the ceiling of getting to the next place. But anytime anybody came to Birmingham, I was going to get to open for them. So I opened for a lot of people then. But, about a year into that, almost 2 years into that just wasn't really going anywhere. So my keyboard player moved to Atlanta. He ended up producing for BET Jazz. My bass player moved to Dallas. He ended up, he's toured with, you name him, he's toured with him now. My guitar player moved out here to LA, ended up touring with Jason Derulo and a bunch of other folk. And it was just me stuck at the house. And I ended up going to, like, the summer before my 30th birthday, which was like 2 years into this process. I ended up going to France. Another friend of mine was doing a tour in France, and they needed me to be the front man. So I went over there and did it. It was horrible. And I landed back in Birmingham on my 30th birthday, and I was so depressed. I was like, I'm going to quit making music. I'm done. I got to go get a big boy job. And I'm just in the car. My uncle came to pick me up, and I'm just crying about it. And my uncle's a big kid, man. He's like, man, you got to chill up. You're 30. We got to get out. But I just don't feel like doing that. And as he's taking me back home, it's raining outside. It's just a horrible day. And a homeboy of mine called me and told me that one of the songs that we had written the previous summer had been picked up by Jennifer Lopez. Damn. And I was like, man, I was really about to quit making music today. And so I ended up just kind of taking the money. It was in a movie. It was in Step Up 4, Step Up 4 Revolution.
Tonight feels like we can do anything we like.
And so I took the little money I made on that check. It was the first time I'd ever had more than like $1,000 in my hand. I got a check for $27,000, and I paid off all the little bills I had and packed up a car and I drove out to LA. No real plan, just I was like, I got a J-Lo song. I'm going to make that work for me. Damn. That was a dumb move. But got out here, man. And I had sent some clothes out here by one of my cousins. I had a cousin, my mom's first cousin. So my second cousin lived out here. He was a preacher. I had sent some clothes out here by him. This is a weird story too. Sent some clothes out here because he had a house out here in Apple Valley. I get out here and I try to call him. He won't answer the phone. Well, come to find out, he's in jail for smoking meth. Anyway, so now I got a meth head preacher cousin. But oddly enough, now right with this though, when he called me, he was like, keep in mind, this 10 years ago, right? He was like, oh man, I'm actually named after him. Okay, this is my mom's cousin. My first name is Coleridge. I'm named after Coleridge, my mom's cousin, right?
Wow.
He was like, oh, look, Coleridge, I'm sorry about that, man. Blah, blah. I'm going to clean myself up, blah, 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 blah. Now, keep in mind, it's 10 years ago. He go, man, but I got a son, man. You got to meet him, man. He cold on that football field, man. You got to meet him. But keep in mind, he's in jail. And I live in LA, and I'm trying to figure out life. Fast forward, blah, blah, blah. That son, his name is Coleridge, too. Okay? If you watch y'all watch college football?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Y'all know who C.J. Stroud is?
Yes.
C.J. Stroud, that's Coleridge Jr.
Get the hell out of here.
That's my cousin.
The Houston Texans select C.J. Stroud, quarterback, Ohio State.
He gonna be a first round pick. That boy
He's
bad.
gonna be a first round pick. And my cousin kept saying, you gotta meet my boy. He cold. And I never did get a chance to meet him either. But that's Coleridge. His name is Coleridge Stroud. We're both named after his daddy, Coleridge Stroud. Anyway, wow. So I get out here, man. I don't have any real plan. I'm just kind of bouncing around trying to meet people. And I end up 3 weeks into bouncing around, meet people, just kind of writing day by day. I meet this girl. Her name is Tish Hyman. I will forever be grateful to her. She's a songwriter as well. She introduces me to a man named Robert Eleazar, who I sat down and I played for him. And he's like, man, you can really play. He called Ethiopia Haptomariam, who at the time was the president of Motown. He's like, I'm bringing this kid up to you tomorrow. I go there the next day. I don't have any clothes because my cousin, I can't get my cousin, so I got on dirty sweatpants, but they give me a record deal.
Wow.
So that's how you got to Motown.
That's how I got to Motown. But it was just kind of from just bouncing around, trying my luck off that J-Lo record.
Damn, that's crazy how that always happens, because it's never a straight line for success. It seems like it's always these winding turns of meeting people at the right place, the right time, and then you end up with this person, and then bam, you sign.
That's
crazy. Exactly how that works, bro. It's all a back and forth bounce around. It's people say like you hear the term overnight celebrity, bro. It's a whole lot of nights that didn't go over. You know what I'm saying? It's no such thing as overnight celebrity. It's a whole lot of stuff that you just don't know. Whenever I look out, you see kids, you like, man, how them kids doing that? Man, you don't know how many people are involved in making that one thing, right? Like It's a lot of folk involved in whatever that song was you loved and liked or whatever. Like, you don't even want to know how many people it took to make that, right? How many, right? How many marketing people and promotions people and writers and producers and vocal arrangers and, you know, managers and agents and record labels and lawyers to put out one little piece of music.
So how many albums did you get on Motown? Because I know you had
one album on Motown.
Okay.
I did one album and one EP, and I decided that I didn't like artist work, just wasn't really for me. One, I don't really like traveling like that. It's too much. It requires a lot, right? And I didn't really like that. I like the creative process, but I don't really want to get out and have to sing every night. That's one of the reasons that I wanted to record music, was because I didn't want to have to get up and sing for myself all the time, you know? So I got more into just, you know, focusing on writing.
Well, the Numb album in 2020 was nice. So I don't know.
You, man.
You know, I mean, it has some really nice cuts on it. You know, my favorite songs on there is High God and Boys Break 2. That's my jam right there, Boys Break 2.
Boys break 2. Oh, boys break 2. I tried to be iron for you.
Yeah, that's hot.
I want to tell you a little something about that. So, and this is kind of a segue into philosophy, by the way.
Yes, I was listening to the words, definitely.
Okay, so keep in mind, I'm a devout Christian for the majority of my life, right? Let me start with Boys Break 2. Boys Break 2. Every year I write myself a song, right? Every year I write a song to myself from myself, and most of the time they are acapellas, because I don't want to involve a producer or anything. I just want to write a song to myself from myself. And so Boys Break 2 was one of those. And it was just me coming to honest grips with what I thought being an adult was. Like, how was adulting for you? How is that going? And so that's what Boys Break 2 from. Hey God came kind of in the turn of my spiritual life.
Hey God, can we talk for a second? Cause I got some questions I need. Some guidance, direction, cause from my perspective I see.
Yeah, I was really kind of going through some things spiritually, kind of peeling away from older thoughts of Christianity and just kind of, you know, thinking this through as a black man, right? Like, not specifically as a black man, right? What does this story mean to a black man? And I had heard lots of versions of it, from the Hebrew Israelite stories to, you know, blah, blah, blah. But it just wasn't really sitting right with me, right? Like, when it's all said and done, I'm just a nigga, bro. Like, right? Like when y'all get through doing all that stuff that y'all talking, I got to figure out how to get through this life as a nigga, right? Like, what am I doing? And I wrote that around the time Mike Brown got shot. And the question was, the reason I was asking God the question is because I asked myself, how can the oppressed and the oppressor pray to the same God? God got to pick a side, right? Damn. And it seemed like every time the oppressed and the oppressor pray to the same God, God picked the side of the oppressor. I didn't like that, right? I didn't think that was right. But of course, you know, you grow up away your whole life. You don't just throw all that away just because you got a question, right? There's a lot to deal with. So, but that was in the time of my dealing with that. And I actually wrote that several years before it came out. I think I wrote that right around the time Mike Brown died. So yeah, it was pretty old.
How old are you when this kind of starts popping out, the differences in ideologies?
I'm around 30. Okay, this has been a slow drip since I was 16. A very slow drip. I had never, although I was very much active in church, my own personal theology was very different from most. Right now, while I was a Christian, I believed that Jesus died and he rose from the dead. There was a lot of other stuff that I just didn't get with, right? I was never anti-LGBTQ. That just didn't sit right with me. I didn't understand that. I never understood the idea of sending somebody to hell because of what they don't know. So piece at a time, I was just kind of peeling off pieces. I think this was one of the final straws though. And so I was around 32, 33 when that started to happen. Just kind of, okay, something about this just don't work out. And then of course, having parents, my dad, who's still currently a bishop, being a part of a family tradition that is very steeped in church, how do you deal with that, right? But it took me a while. I had to put my big boy pants on and just live in the truth as I understood it.
So all this is happening, and I'm curious, the transition when you started making it more known about what you were thinking to your parents, these pastors, church going black folk from the South. South is the Bible Belt. You can't come in here with that shit. you might get your ass whooped.
Fortunately, by this point,
Cole, before you tell the story, before you tell the story, Cole, we all from the South, so we all been through this whole journey that you talking about.
Fortunately, my mom and dad had gotten a divorce by this point, and my mom is like that's my buddy, so I could talk to her about anything. She's always been that way, and so I was able to kind of talk it out with my mom. Right. And one thing about my mom that I really appreciate about her is she's always been reasonable. Right. And she knew that I wasn't doing this to get back at God or to be angry at God or any of that type of stuff. It was just, and she knew that this was a slow leak. I had told her when I was 16, Mama, this stuff don't make sense to me. Right. And for whatever reason, and she heard me say that then. Right. And so this wasn't anything new. And so she just kind of, as I was learning things or unlearning things, I would share it with her. And she, at this point, I don't know if my mother's an atheist, but she's definitely not a churchgoer. Her mentality on theology has completely changed. And this is a woman with a master's degree in divinity, and my dad had a master's degree in religion. So these are people who, again, aren't emotionally moved, but she at least heard me out. My daddy and I don't speak to this day. We just don't speak.
He think he's going to hell. That's why.
Yeah. He think I'm going to hell, and I'm okay with that, right? Like I made my peace with that. But and as a good devout Christian, I understand. I get where you're coming from.
You should actually prove it. But that's all other stuff.
Oh man, you know how that goes. I'm going to hell. I'm gonna ride with you then.
Oh man.
I apologize.
Mama, there go that man.
I apologize. I'm sorry, fellas. I apologize.
Man, say that.
Yeah, I just be, our favorite would we all have these conversations together because we brothers and we all love each other and we have really deep conversations. And after the end of the day, if you can't prove it, if it's not tangible, I don't believe the shit you said because I don't believe shit. If you can't prove it, if it ain't the wind blowing, it ain't rain falling from the sky and the sun rising, I don't believe it. Prove it. That's how you lose friends, though. Don't do
that. You're in the music industry. You're in Cali. You're pretty much on your own anyway. Do you have friends out there in Cali that accept you for who you are?
The thing about LA is, unlike the South, this isn't the Bible Belt. So there's tons of different kind of beliefs out here, or lacks thereof, right? There's some Christians out here. I know some Muslims, some Buddhists, some Taoists, some Hare Krishnas. You name it, it's out here. Witches,
Scientology?
Scientology is big out here.
Scientology is huge out there. They got a big old church.
Yeah. They got a couple of them out here, but they got
a couple of them out there, yeah.
Yeah, the big compound is out there. I know.
Yeah, the big blue ones out here.
Yeah, big near Inglewood, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So, fortunately, in that regard, where I'm from, and if y'all from there, y'all will understand. You meet somebody, you ask 3 questions. Hey, what's your name? How you doing?
Where you go to church?
What church you belong to?
Yep.
Right? Out here is, hey, what's your name? What do you do for a living? People out here don't care what church you go to. They don't even ask about that. They just want to know what you do for a living. How you make your money? Can I get some money with you? Can I steal some money from you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that's what Atlanta has turned into. Believe it or not, they call it Black Hollywood for a reason. Out here is definitely about what who you are and what you do. Are you an entrepreneur? Do you work a 9 to 5? Are you in the music industry? Do you act? Oh yeah, okay. You just regular? Oh okay. You just work a 9 to 5. Cool. And that's the end of it. But yeah, it's pretty much the same out here.
And from how I see it now, there is no reason for you to ask me for my spiritual belief, right? You should see whatever it is that I represent in my personhood, right? So, and again, out here, nobody really asks about my spiritual beliefs. I mean, even when we start talking about morality or things that may be a bit more metaphysical, things like that, nobody's going to ask where you got that from because it's a hodgepodge of ideas, right? You might wake up and go to Sunday service with Kanye and you might have a medium that you talk to at night. Nobody really cares. People care about it, but we're not here to judge it. It's not as staunch as it is in other places where like, oh, you do yoga, that's the devil stretch, you know.
That's Southern philosophy. That's what that is.
It's another thing they ask out here in Atlanta, and that's what's your sexuality? Are you heterosexual?
Well,
heterosexual.
I understand why they asked that question because I was in Atlanta for 7 days and I've seen a lot of it. Yep, I understand.
Okay. I mean, but out here they don't even ask that, and the reason being is because it's like we're not as not that LA isn't social. It's more or less that like I don't have a reason to ask you that, right? Like unless I'm about to date on you, it doesn't matter, right? Like what difference does that make to me? You know, Atlanta's very like social. You know, they a lot of dating and getting around and partying together. We don't really do a whole lot of that out here. People party, but we party in groups. Right?
Yeah, in groups.
And I came with this group of people. These are people I'm here with, and I'm gonna meet those folks, whatever. But we not.
I'm gonna meet those folks whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna meet those folks at the party what they say I'm gonna be at. Yeah, my boys live in LA, so yeah, I know.
Yeah. I'm just here to hang out with folks I'm here to hang out with. You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
We're gonna take some pictures, take some bottles. I'm going home. Yeah. Longest who I left, whoever coming home, we just be what you say, y'all. That's all.
So I see you have been on social media a lot more. How did you get onto the TikTok and all that? What made you get on there? Because you ain't got to, but you on there.
And what's so crazy is I did not want to get a TikTok at all. And then, it's like my baby sister told me to get one. I got a baby sister. She's 23. She's like, oh, you just get on there, blah, 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 just to check it out. And then I got it, never really used it. And then last December, I got on there and I made a joke that took off. And I went from having 500 followers to 200,000 followers in like a month. And
wow.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess I just hang out on TikTok. And then now I don't really make many videos. I just kind of talk on lives because I'm more of a long form talker than a short. That's why I didn't want to get on TikTok because I'm like, I don't know if I can fit my ideas into a minute or 2 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So I never really used it. And now I'm back to not really. I had made a video. And every time I make a video, it gets taken down, though. So
on TikTok, they will find any and every excuse to take one of your videos down.
Bro,
they
now,
piss me off with that.
I'm banned from making videos till right after we get off this call. But like I know until today. And I made a video that was literally to test and see if they was gonna ban me. All I did was, there was a lady, a white woman who talks about sex. She's like a sexologist, though, like she's a doctor about it, right? Mm-hmm. And so she had like a picture of a vagina on her screen. And she was talking about the parts of the vagina. And I laughed and said, it must be so nice to be white on TikTok. Because if I had done anything like this, right? If I had done anything like this, they would ban me. Lo and behold, they banned me for that video.
Oh no, just for commenting on that.
All I did was comment on the video she made. I got banned for it. So anyway.
So what's your TikTok handle, your Instagram handle? What's that?
I am the Sebastian Kole on TikTok, THE Sebastian Kole. On Instagram, I'm just Sebastian Kole. Everywhere else you can find me is just Sebastian Kole, all one word, and that's Kole with a K.
All right, got you. I'm gonna follow you. I'm So Divine Leaf on Instagram. All I do is pump cigars. We're gonna make it happen. I'm in Fresno, California, so I drive up to LA. We can hang out.
Yeah, because I need some cigars. I'm smoking a black right now, but I love it.
I see you. I see you smoking that. You should throw that in the trash can, but we ain't gonna talk about that right now.
Please throw that in the trash can. As soon as you can.
Yeah,
garbage.
I'm from Alabama, man. You can't forget that. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's not forget.
Hey, let me tell you, the So Divine Leaf gonna stop you smoking Black and Miles. I got you.
Black and Miles was the Southern classic, cigars, but that was back when they were real. There was real pipe tobacco in it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's made out of paper. It's made out of paper now.
I don't know what the hell they put on it.
I have a farm up north in Southern Oregon where I grow, let me just say, not tobacco.
Well, it's okay. We know what it is.
Okay.
It's okay. It's legal. It's legal in Oregon.
It's legal.
Yeah, it's legal. It's legal. I'm a legal grower up there. I got 40 acres up there, man. Growing some good.
Some hemp.
Yeah, let's call it hemp.
Let's call it hemp. Yeah. We'll call it hemp. Yeah.
I definitely need to follow.
It's definitely divinely. And for me, so I own a cigar factory in Nicaragua, and we grow mensadas in Nicaragua. So I can make sure we get you some good to roll that good divine leaf.
Oh, that's crazy.
In that good. Yes. That's how we'll talk off air. We'll make it happen, baby.
Absolutely, bro. That's amazing. That's dope.
Yeah.
I love when I hear people own productions. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Own the rights of production. I love that. Remember, I told you I moved out here in 2012, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So I ended up getting out here in October 2012. I had initially I was gonna move out here in September 2012. I had a homeboy that lived out here, right? So he had moved out like May of that year. And I told him, I was like, I'm coming out there, bro. He's like, all right, bro, just, hit me when you get to town. Hit me when you get to town. I'm like, all right, bet. So I'm leaving like, I want to say it's September 12th. That date sticking in my head for some reason. It was a Wednesday. I do remember it was a Wednesday. I call him, I text him on my way to the airport. Hey, bro, I'm on my way to the airport. I touched down a couple hours, blah, blah, blah. Like 6-7 hours. I'll be there this afternoon, blah, blah, blah. We had been talking all week. Everything good. Boom. I fly out there. I hit him as soon as I touched ground. He didn't answer the phone, but it's all good. I still got to get my bags and stuff anyway. So I go get my bags. I'm calling him, no answer. I happen to just grab my phone and look at Twitter, waiting on them to call me back. I look at Twitter, one of my homeboys like, hey man, he tweeting Lazy down here acting a fool. Lazy is who I'm looking for. So I hit my friend. I say, you in LA? And he said, nah, bro, I'm in Birmingham. We at Onyx. And I'm like, Lazy is there? Right? Keep in mind, I had talked to Lazy that morning. And he was like, yeah, hit me when you touch ground, right? Lazy had been lying to me the whole time.
His ass in Alabama.
Bro, he never even lived out here. I promise you I won't do that way.
Oh, dang. I noticed you started jumping on different platforms on YouTube, such as Sonetta TV. Okay. So do you think that you're becoming more known as a debater, philosopher, and people forgetting that you're an actual artist?
Okay, so let's talk about the Sonetta thing. The only reason I even went on Sonetta is because some guys on Facebook wanted to have a debate, right? So Hebrew Israelites wanted to have a debate, and so I was like, I don't even like debating really, because most of the time these debates, to me, are not intellectually honest. To me, and now I won't say that none of the debaters are intellectually honest. But the debates themselves are very cherry picked, right? And they have like a line that they're going to follow in tow. And, I think it's intellectually dishonest to not concede a point. Like, even if I disagree with your conclusion, if you say something that's true, that's just true. Mm-hmm. Right? And so I did a couple little things on Sonetta, but I felt like it was too intellectually dishonest for me to continue. So you don't see me on there a lot. Although Sonetta and I, we cool. But you don't see me on there a lot because of that. Because I don't believe in being intellectually dishonest, right? Like if you're right about something, you're just right about it, right? There's nothing in my worldview says I have to be right all the time.
Okay. Right? So my question to you is, tell me what your stance is on Christianity. I know what our stance are because all of us have the same stance. I don't know what your stance is, so we can have an intellectual conversation about it.
Okay. To say it simply. Well, I don't even know if there is a simple way to say it.
No, just say it. That's what we do on Christianity. We just tell the truth.
Okay. To me, Christianity is trying to take a vast, old, complex world and squish it into 6,000 years of Mediterranean thought. And it's not fair to the vastness and beauty of this complex world, right? It's oversimplification. And ultimately, I think it gets down to actually, literally, cultural appropriation. Because you got these people who swear they're Jews and are not, right? But the whole idea behind Christianity is to make you a quote unquote spiritual Jew, which is cultural appropriation, if nothing else, right? A white person couldn't tell me they were spiritually black. I couldn't tell you I'm spiritually Chinese. You couldn't tell me you were spiritually Russian, right? It wouldn't even make sense. But for some reason, because of this ideology, people are running around claiming this heritage and righteousness from Israel. That right now, all of a sudden, you're a child of the king of Judah. But wait, you're not. That doesn't even make sense, right? Like that's not what you are. that's not where you're from. That's not how your people thought. And not to even break it down into race or anything, but like you're just trying to fit a whole world into a very, very, very small lens. And it doesn't work that way. It's not how life works. So I feel like Christianity as wait, let me go back and say, that's not every Christian, right? That's just how some people use Christianity. Christianity as an idea is neither good nor bad. It's just an idea, right? I think it becomes bad when people substitute it for what is real, like what we can attest to as real, right? If you want to believe that a Jewish man died and rose from the dead for your sins, cool. I got no problem with that. But if you want to condemn the next person to hell for not believing that, okay, now I need you to prove that this hell exists. Right? Right? But while it's in your head, it's fine, right? Because it makes sense in your head, right? But once you bring it out here to the public, then it's like, okay, I need you to, prove to me that's even real.
I'm gonna let the professor go first. Oh. Let the professor go first. Go ahead, professor.
Yeah, go ahead, professor.
Go ahead, professor. Go ahead.
I don't say much whenever I agree with somebody. I shut up because I ain't got nothing to say. It's like he said.
He is saying it for you, but I want you to explain your point on it too as well, because I think it intertwines what he's saying, and then we'll elaborate on what you're talking about. Go ahead.
So when he explained so eloquently what he has explained about his views on Christianity or organized religion, I thought about who kind of culturally appropriated the ideas that Christianity culturally appropriated. And the first thing that came in my mind, of course, we might get in trouble, of course, but LGBTQ.
I thought about the same thing. Go ahead.
If Christianity or organized religion kind of started this whole, in my mind, so I think, in reality, so I am, nominalism. I'm like, if you can do that, then why can't anybody else do it? Hey, I think that I'm such and such. I think I'm a dog. Therefore, you got to address me as that in reality. What y'all think?
Go ahead, Cutter. You was next. Go ahead.
Nah, bro, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm just excited to have the conversation. So me, my eyes are, I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed like a motherfucker right now. So go ahead and speak your mind, brother.
I feel that as we move forward as African Americans or whatever we should be called, because I don't call myself that, but I just use it as a basis of a title that everybody can understand. So we as African Americans, we should not believe in Christianity at all, because the way that allegedly that slaves were treated, and they use Christianity to manipulate the situation to control you. Why would you want to be part of a religion that used to control you and control your ancestors to be the people that they are today? So I totally agree. Go ahead, Cutter. I'm gonna leave it at that, because if I say anything else, they might not post this video.
Well, I'm like E. At the end of the day, what's understood don't really have to be explained. You gentlemen pretty much hit the nail on the head. I've always likened Christianity to Greek mythology. It's stories, good stories, great stories. That's it, great stories. They should make more movies about this shit.
Yeah, they are great. They will make a great movie.
Think about it. If Steven Spielberg was to do a movie about Moses, I'm sure he would make it look extremely. The motion picture aspect of it.
The magic
goes
of it
out
all.
into the middle of the sea. Yeah, the magic.
The magic of it all.
That's why I say
the story
it's a great story.
Here's my problem. I do consider myself an actual African American. Okay, and I say that with a lot of pride. I am an American. I was born and raised on this soil. So were my parents. Right. But I am definitely of West African descent. I am still 94% West African, which is as West African as you can be. I don't even know how the white folk just didn't like my folk or something. They didn't even bother us like that. I came back pure nigger. You know what I'm saying? I came out here real, right? But again, imagine having a history of the world, of the whole world. You read this book front page to back page, and you are never mentioned. Is that a good story? If you're telling me, and I'm gonna give you a couple examples. Okay, for example, so a God made this place. 6 days he made it. That sounds like a good story. Made the whole universe in 6 days. That's dope, right? Then he puts two people in the garden that don't know anything, and then tell them not to eat of a tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But if they don't know good and evil, how would they know that it is evil to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Is that a good story? Okay, so they eat of the knowledge of good and evil, and then this guy says, okay, I'm going to kill everybody here from here on out. Is that a good story? Okay, so then the children of those people go on and they continue to be evil because now they know evil, right? And then God goes, okay, well, I haven't killed enough people yet. I mean, they all going to die eventually, but I'm going to go ahead and wipe out the whole earth and start over because this done made me so mad. So then he floods the whole earth. I don't know how that happens, but okay. So he
allegedly.
Right. Okay. Floods the earth, leaves it just down to 8 people.
Allegedly.
So he started all the way back over, right? And then sin came back. How? You just killed all the sinners. Is this a good story? Okay, fast forward again, all the way out to Jesus. Jesus came to rid the world of sin. He died, rose from the dead to rid the world of sin, but sin is still back. Is this a good story? This seems like a story of a God that can't accomplish his purposes.
It's a great motion picture, though.
Exciting, though. But I'm saying the way you were just so passionate about what you were saying got me excited about seeing that motherfucking movie.
I definitely want to see that damn movie. That's a hell of a movie.
See, my question is,
you got Sebastian. He doing the music for the.
I'm a scorer.
Yeah. See, my question is, if God is all powerful, he's all knowing, he's all everything, why do he need help? Why he got to send Jesus? Why do he need help? He created the earth in 6 days just by speaking it. Yeah. So why do he need help to get rid of sin? Well, I'm just asking questions.
Again,
hey, don't count me for that, y'all.
Don't count me for that. And we could go back. We could do that all day. You're right. Like just so many, right? But I guess good is relative, right? I don't necessarily. Maybe these aren't necessarily morally good stories, but I guess they could be entertaining, right?
Yeah, they could be entertaining because I want to see somebody. Have y'all ever seen the sea? The sea. Have you ever seen the ocean? The sea. You know how big a sea is. So you telling me a dude walked up to the sea with a staff in his hand and stumped in the ground and it is spread both ways, parted on two sides, on dry land. You know how wet the sea is. You know how wet a beach is. If the water just rolled up on the beach and it was dry, what happened to the fish and the sharks and the whales?
They floated up in the air with it. They in the air with it. It's just floating in the air. In the air. You see, I mean, nature, I can hear the sound effects right now. just to see that shit in 3D
on IG. Yeah.
And look, no, in the IMAX.
Oh yeah, all around you.
See that
would be dope.
Come on, man.
If we're looking at this from a philosophical standpoint or a morality standpoint, I would there are definitely other things I would rather teach children than magic, right? There's definitely other ways to teach morality, and I don't have to exclude human nature because to me, the beautiful part about living in this existence is that we are human, right? And that we don't know everything. I was going to say this earlier. There is a professor by the name of Professor Daniel Dennett. If you can look him up on YouTube or find some of his works that he's written. But he does a lecture called Religion in the Wild. And he speaks about how religion is a naturally occurring phenomenon. And basically what he says is, and which makes perfect sense, right? Like, as you begin to explore and expand and your brains are getting bigger and you start to use tools and you're starting to master the earth, right? You look around and you realize that there are so many things that you cannot master, right? So many things that you don't even have the tools, like that we did not have the tools to understand until recently, right? Like the wind. How do you explain wind to a person in the Iron Age? How do you explain that? Right? Like what's moving this? Why is it moving? Why does that make the tree move? Is it heavy? Does it have a weight? I can't hold it in my hand. What is it? Right? They didn't know that wind was particulate matter or that air was particulate. They wouldn't have had any way of knowing that. So because they wouldn't have had any way of knowing that, they gave agency to the thing, that it was a force like they were a force. And that force was bigger than them and stronger than them. And so they began to bow themselves to that force to create an order, which I can understand, right? Like, because if we were alive at that time, we probably would have done the same thing, right? But the benefit of being alive on this side of prehistory is that I know better than that now. I know how air pressure systems work. I know that there is no one in the sky opening up a window and pouring down water. I know how precipitation works. I know that no one's riding the sun across the sky, right? But there's a story in the Bible. I want to say it's in Joshua.
Joshua, yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. Joshua 3:16. Go ahead.
Well, he made the sun stand still, right? Mm-hmm. Do you know that first and foremost, the sun is already standing still, but if we were ever to visualize the sun standing still, that means we stop spinning. And if we stop spinning at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, bro, everything that ain't nailed to the ground, and really a lot of stuff that is nailed to the ground, is going to fly completely off the face of the earth. Right?
And burn the fuck up.
And burn up. Like, this is just not something that's going to be able to be done, right? But this is them trying to explain things, right? Trying to get an understanding of things and not knowing, how to explain these things. Not really understanding the way seasons work. Not really understanding the way genetics work. There's no way we came from 3 couples. That's just not possible, right? Like, but as an etiology, I understand it, right? As an etiology, it's saying, oh, here's a little story. It's kind of like when you tell babies about the stork, right? When they ask where babies come from, you tell them about the stork. That's the etiology of children, right? But that's because I don't want to tell them about pee-pees and wee-wees, right? And eventually we have to get to that story, right? Yeah. So to me, it's like being stuck in the first grade for life.
We all had to grow to a certain point. Like, we all were, for the most part, especially with Sebastian saying that, he was also raised in a spiritual/religious household. We all were pretty much raised in religious households, correct?
Correct.
All right. So we all graduated to a point in our lives where we begin to ask questions, whether we ask them to mama, daddy, uncle, whoever, pastor, reverend, deacon, whoever. At the end of the day, we begin to question in our minds whether or not the stuff that we were taught as children, wait, some of this stuff ain't adding up. We all put 2 and 2 together eventually. We all were smart enough to put 2 and 2 together to say, hey, like Sesame Street, one of these things don't belong here. Like, something ain't adding up. But we graduated to that point. It just didn't happen. I understand what you like as far as children. I don't want to confuse children too early. Because when you was talking about this not too long ago, when you're teaching a child one thing, they go out into the world and they still have to go to school, unless you're homeschooling them. They're going to teach your child something totally different or something that contradicts what you're saying at home. So my question to you guys, I don't know who all is parents. I know Orlando and E, they, were overseers of children, or still is. What are your thoughts on teaching children and how to teach children at certain ages?
Interesting, because I just had this conversation, a brief conversation with my son right before we had this, like an hour. So we was playing basketball and I scratched him because I was, playing defense. And, he like, oh my God, I got scratched. Yeah. I'm like, boy, get over it. We're going to get scratched a lot more when you playing basketball. So, I'm manning him up and asked me. he said, Daddy, how am I gonna get fixed? How am I gonna get, fixed? Is it gonna get better? I'm like, yes, it's gonna heal up. You're gonna heal. Your body is gonna heal itself. How? And I'm like, it's gonna heal itself. And it clicked in his head. He was like, I don't get it. How? Why do we heal ourselves? Who did this to our bodies?
Now the average parent would tell him what?
God did it.
God
already did it.
Go ahead.
So I of course, I'm not there. I ain't been there in years. So, but I do understand the world we live in, and I don't want to give him where I live right now. He ain't ready for that. I ain't gonna give him that. So I gave him a little bit of both. I said, some people think the universe did this to us, is what I told him. I said, the universe came into existence in a big bang, and life began. That's how it started. But also, some people think that God did it. He said and that was enough for him. It stopped. It was like, okay, he ain't asked no more. Because I wanted to give him both sides so he understand that whatever you choose to accept is not right. None of them is true. It's an idea that we subscribe to. I don't care how adamant you are about it. We all got here the same way. We came here at one particular time, at a particular place, and we became conscious of being alive. And when that all happened, we all in the same boat, and don't nobody know how the hell we got here. And that's it. We stuck. So from that point, we build these ideas and make them the premises to which we can start inferring ideas from. But the ideas is based off of ignorance. So no matter if you define our ignorance into knowledge, it's still going to be a ignorant point when you dig past that point of knowledge. Everything past knowledge, our whole knowledge base is based off of ignorance when it comes down to it. So no matter what, you're going to have to start accepting something as the truth, even though you know that past that truth is ignorance. And I'm cool with that, but a lot of people ain't. But I just want to make sure he's comfortable with it.
I want to say something about that.
That's what I
got. Here's the thing. You know, a lot of people like to pit science against religion. I always say they're two separate magisteria. I probably shouldn't bring them up together unless I'm studying how religion came to be. But if I'm talking to a young person, if I'm talking to a kid and they're asking me a thing about their body, specifically about, like, if this had been me, and the kid asks me, well, how is it that I'm going to heal? Well, you see that blood on your arm? In there are white blood cells. And what they're going to do is they're going to coagulate. They're going to come together and make a little shield. And they're going to make a scab. And under that, you're going to start to grow new skin. Eventually, the scab will fall off. You have new skin now. You'll be healed. That's simple enough, right? That's simple. He didn't ask me how the whole universe started, right? He didn't ask me how the whole universe started. What that person's asking me about is how to fix that situation. I think a lot of times when I'm talking to theists, we'll be talking about one thing, and they jump all the way back to the beginning of the universe. Well, we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about this one little thing, right? And so what ends up happening is people blow off the mountains of scientific fact that we have, right? Like mountains of information that we know to get to this place that we don't know. But the only way that you will ever understand that ignorance wall, like the way we move that wall back, is by understanding what we do know. Because you're right. Our whole knowledge base started off as ignorance, right? So, but the only way to push that wall back is to understand the little pieces at a time. Jumping all the way back to the beginning of the universe, at some point, like if I asked you, well, what happened before the Big Bang? Well, this would be a silly question. And you would know that if you understood the way the space-time worked, right? That's not even a coherent question. But because you don't understand that as a concept, well, the question that you're asking me or the point that you're trying to make is going to be moved. And so I feel like we get into a lot of those kinds of debates where we overlook the knowledge that we really do have. Like there are some things we do know, like, and we know very well. I am very assured of the fact, I'm going to share this little piece of information with y'all, that human beings and chimpanzees share a relative. I am very assured of that fact. I'm not guessing that. That's not a faith of mine. I know this to be the absolute truth. And you know how I know it to be absolutely true? Anybody want to guess how I know that's true? You want to guess how I know that's
go
true?
Ahead.
Well, yeah, I want to know how you know it's true.
There's a thing called an endogenous retrovirus. You ever heard of this?
Mm-mm.
Endogenous retrovirus.
It's new.
Endogenous means you're born with it, right? Retro, of course, means old. And virus. No, the virus is, okay? Now, endogenous retroviruses are viruses that can only be passed along from parent to child. It's the only way they're going to be passed along. So this is a virus that has gotten into the sex cells and then reproduced in a child. It's a dead version of the virus. The virus is not still alive, but it is inserted into a gene in a certain insertion point, right? And you're going to pass that endogenous retrovirus from parent to child perfectly in that exact same insertion point. It's about 10 million insertion points in the genome, right? So this particular endogenous retrovirus is going to be passed on perfectly from parent to child, okay? That's the only way you can get them. That's Okay. We share about 208 endogenous retroviruses with chimpanzees. The only way that's possible is if we had a similar parent. It is not possible in any other way than if we had the same parent. The end. We must share a parent. That's the only way that this is possible. That way I know that. That's not something I believe. That's something I can prove to you day by day. I can show you this right now. I can show you this in your genome. I can show you in mine. That's how I know we're related, because we share the same endogenous retroviruses. Right? I could tell where we split off from being related because our endogenous retroviruses will be different. But I know this to be true. This is not something I'm guessing. That's not a move of faith. I feel like we should share these truths, things that we know, because the truth is just that which comports with reality, right? We should share these truths so that we are not so easily moved by a good story, because stories can be great, right? It's really cool to think, oh man, I don't know, whatever we want to believe, but only true knowledge has application. So in other words, there isn't a single person that has opened a hospital and prayed people back to health. All these healers out here swearing they can lay hands on folk and whatever, not one of them has cleared a hospital.
Hell no, they stay out of that. They ain't going to a hospice.
Okay. But every single day, doctors go in there with sick patients, and sick patients come out better. Right? This happens every single day. One of these has a mountain of evidence to prove it. And we work in that evidence, and we see the results. One of them has none. So this isn't really just a matter of what I choose to accept. At some point, I've reached a level where I am now denying reality. Right. And the only way I know what's real, because again, I just introduced y'all to endogenous retroviruses. You might not have ever heard of that before. Right. But the only way I know that to be an assured fact is I have to keep learning. I have to keep understanding. Right. Like we get to a certain point. And again, I feel like this is the religious part of us. We get to a certain point where it's like, OK, I know enough about that. But we don't. Right. Science is a process. Learning is a process. I'm learning something new every day. Like, I probably learn a new scientific fact on a day-by-day basis, right? Something new about my body, something new about trees. Did you guys know that broccoli, cauliflower, kale, kohlrabi, and Brussels sprouts, and I think it's one other, are all the same plant? Did y'all know that?
I just got through eating some Brussels sprouts, but I'm glad you said that.
Did you know we made them all? We made them all from a wild mustard plant.
Yep, those are all man-made vegetables. Yes,
all we just selected. We selected certain things that we liked about certain ones and kept planting them until we made 5-6 different species of plant. Right? Not like we just man-made them in a lab. No, we just from growing certain things. Same way we did with cows. We made cows. Y'all know we made cows. Y'all know that? Together. Yeah, that's how we made dogs. Right? Just breeding certain things, and dogs look very different from each other. Right?
Yeah. All of them, because they all started from what they call the canine, the wolf.
The wolf, but they all wolves.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But we bred for different versions of the wolf. Yes, so we bred for certain traits out of these wolves and got different breeds of dogs, and all of those dogs are the same species too, even though they look very different. They're the same species, right? So when I look and I see a white person or an Asian person or an Indian person, whatever, a black person. Right, people be trying to talk like we different species. We are not. We're the same species, right? We're the same species. We're all relatives. We all come from the same group of folk.
The Rottweiler syndrome.
Come on, the Rottweiler theory. We had this thing. Oh man, and I ain't gonna get into it, but we have this theory that who came up with it? E or me or you? We kind of collaborate,
and then we started running with it.
Yeah, it's called the Rottweiler theory.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna let you explain the Rottweiler theory because it's along the lines of what Sebastian is saying.
No, pretty much. We were just kind of discussing where I just noticed it, doing my little research and history with black folk, or the defined people that we call black people, because they darker spectrum with pigmentation. But like you said, we already knew that these people were of the same species. We all humans, but at the same time, first they defined the people, and then they started breeding these particular people. And that's what I looked up. I was just thinking of it because it reminded me of breeding dogs and trying to define these dogs that don't look anything alike, but because they have similar pigmentation, they all are going to be defined as Rottweilers. It's like having a Chihuahua that's dark, having a Doberman that's dark, having a German Shepherd that's dark, and then you saying because they all share a hue, a spectrum of color, they all going to be defined as Rottweiler. So no matter what dog you got, as long as that dog species or that dog type, dog breed has that color spectrum, falls in that color spectrum, we going to call them a Rottweiler. That's what they did with black folk. They got all these different types of breeds of dogs. These dogs are not the same breed. They are dogs, but they're different breeds. But they said we're going to define these particular breeds based off of a color, a pigment, and we're going to say that this is the same damn dog. And they ran with it. And I was just guessing it in my mind. I was like, this is what it sounds like. I go look this up, and that show as hell is what they did. They did this in the United States and all over the world. I'm like, these they actually did. They all
look like Tyson. They all look like Tyson.
but this is why finding things that we know to be true is so important. Okay, because I know you've heard this before. Knowledge is power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And knowledge is power. That can mean a lot of different things. But what I know, if I know,
I gotta put my phone up.
Right. If I know a thing, I can manipulate it. Right. So this is why it's so important that we do have such a broad array of provable, testable, repeatable fact, so that nobody can come and tell me later on, hey, you're an Egyptian, or you're a Hebrew, or you're a sinner, or you're I don't know, whatever they want to classify me as. Right. The more I understand about the truth of the matter, the less that story holds water to me, right? Because I now know the fact of the matter. I do know that we're all the same species, and I understand why we look like this, right? I understand why my hair is like this and yours isn't. I understand why my skin is this color and yours isn't. I understand that. I understand that there's going to be lots of people with skin my color, but they're not from the same place I'm from. I understand why, right? Because I understand adaptation, I understand mutation, I understand moving around, right? Migration. Right? Mm-hmm. So the more and more I understand about this process, the less fairy tale or fable makes sense, right? So I'm not as easily swayed or persuaded, and not just in the realm of science. This is true about anything. If you understand a car and something goes wrong with your car, you have to take it to the shop because you ain't got time to fix it or whatever. You take it to a shop, and you know it's the carburetor. That mechanic can't tell you it's the catalytic converter. I don't know, right? Like I know what this is, bro. I understand how this works, right?
We call living in Disneyland because sometimes people live in Disneyland and they just want to make up factual information that's really not factual information because it's Disneyland. Because they say Superman can fly, and they equate to Jesus walking on water. When last time you see somebody walking on water? It's all fairy tales.
I think it's something innate because, again, my son, like I said, with that story, he came up with that his own self. How did we get to this point? Who made us? His question. Who made us like this? Who made us to be able to heal like this? In his mind, again, my point for giving them that foundation is to make sure, and of course, this ain't even going to stop anything because, again, I ain't going to be here forever. So I know that everybody gonna get to him. I don't know who gonna get to him, the LGBT, the religious folk, the atheists, whatever, whatever group he gonna get with, and they gonna try to convince him, and he gonna accept something. I don't know what it's gonna be, but my goal is to at least have him be unstable with what he accepts as the foundation of existence. Don't nobody know that, son.
I asked him
exactly, and you ain't gonna ever know.
Yeah, we're figuring that out on a day-by-day basis, right? Like, and I like abiogenesis, which is a huge, it's a story, right? I mean, well, it's a study right now, right? We're studying, trying to figure out, hey, how did this come to be, right? Man, put your hat in the ring. Come help us figure it out, right? Like we're getting closer and closer to knowing. Really, the problem at this point in abiogenesis is there are so many chemical reactions that could have done this. We having a hard time narrowing it down to which one it was. Right?
Yes.
But if you ask any abiogenesis, anybody who studies this, they'll go, oh yeah. It was either this, or this, right? Because we have a wealth of ways that this could have happened. So now we're trying to figure out, okay, well, what were the conditions like? Which one of those conditions would have been more favorable? It's not that we cannot know. My problem with any God answer is the idea of a God stops me from looking, right? I can say what I do not know. But I cannot tell you what I cannot know, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what I can't know. There was a time where we did not know that germs cause disease. We had no way of knowing that germs cause disease. That just was beyond our scope of understanding. But at this point, everybody up here knows that, right? Right, y'all know germs cause disease, right? Okay, all right. That's the theory of germ disease, right? We all know that now, right? So we use antibacterial soaps, so we clean things certain ways, so we disinfect things because we know that germs can cause disease, right? But there was a time that we did not know that. I'm saying as we're giving these soft answers, and I respect your parents, and don't let me. I'm not tripping on that. Really, I'm talking to adults, not to children, right? To the adults in the room and to the kids that may hear this. Right? There's nothing you cannot know. Because at the point that I tell you I cannot know, I stop looking. And I believe you can. We've gotten this far because someone did not believe we had gone far enough. Right? We're talking on computers that are linked to satellites in the sky when somebody used to think the earth was flat and it was a glass ceiling up there. But somebody said, oh no, I believe I can find out more about that. And so they did, right? And so now what's commonplace to us would be magic to them. This would be magic to them, right? If we somehow got in a time machine, they would swear we were God. If I showed back up in Jesus' day, y'all be worshiping me by now. If I could go back in time with the stuff in my pocket and meet Jesus, you guys would all be Sebastianites.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, right? Because the miracles I would perform would smoke his just in doing this.
Yes.
What manner of witchcraft?
Look, hold on.
Sebastian is acting an ass right now. Look at him.
Listen. Bro, they would kill you. So, do you think Jesus died fast? They would get rid of you so goddamn fast.
Bro, but if I took a couple AR-15s with me, they would be worshiping me by sundown.
Oh yeah, then you have a whole.
Yeah.
You would. We
you have
know
your
about
army.
Yep. Right.
They'll be like,
I would be the most famous man in the world.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I would be the same. Right, okay. This being said, the reason that we've come this far, the reason that we've made it this far as a population, is because our primate brains won't stop asking.
Exactly.
Right? Man, we keep asking. And that's the beautiful part about being humans, is we keep asking. The God answer is against humanity. In this regard, it is a stop thought. Okay.
Well, that's why they said don't question God, because they don't want you to ask questions to advance.
I don't want you to ask. That's the end of your thinking. Don't ask me nothing else. Don't think no further than this. Stop. Right? That is against humanity. That's a crime against humanity. What makes this place beautiful, this part of existence beautiful, is that we keep asking. Bro, we have officially teleported one photon from Earth to space. What? Bro, we have collided. We know what muons are now. Bosons, right? We are colliding particles at almost light speed. We got to keep asking, right? We got to keep asking. And the more we ask and the more we allow ourselves to say, hey, I don't know everything, right? But I want to know more. I don't know everything, but I want to know more, right? And we learn, like, we have not even scratched the surface of what humanity will be. 1,000 years from now, bro, when we all dead and gone, I wish there was life after death just so I could watch it on TV to see what humanity is 1,000 years from now. Think about how far it's come. I'm only 40 years old, bro. I saw the 8-track, the 45, the mini disc, the CD, the mini CD, the CD-ROM, the DVD, turn into the Zoom, turn into streaming services, turn into a cell phone. What?
So Sebastian,
You forgot the cassette tapes.
The cassette tape, I'm sorry.
Hey Sebastian, and everything you're saying is I always love your presentation because you make it so palatable. You explain it so eloquently. I was thinking though, the funny thing about this,
look, the definition of a songwriter, songwriter, and
he puts it in your head very, very vividly. But what I was thinking about as well was that however long life has been in existence, don't nobody know. But the catch is, no matter how creative we've been, how we've become, the inventions we've came up with, the pyramids and all the castles and the dams and the river flows and all the technology. Now in our modern era, we got satellites. We can travel to different planets. We talking to each other. When we in different places, we got vaccines, we got DNA, we got electronics, we got automobiles, we flying in space. Come on, man. But it boils down to this funny thing. All of the technology that we do have, and we still end up at the same damn place. That's the first question. For thousands of years, that one age-old caveman question, where we come from. Where we come from. We are here with this in this day and age, and we got all this technology, and we still asking the same goddamn question. Where we come from? Where we come from? And we still the same question. And why? Because it doesn't matter. Because you ain't gonna ever know. Because the only way scientifically you'll know is to go there and measure what you're saying against what happened. We ain't gonna ever be able to do that. You can't replicate what happened. It never gonna happen. But it's not going to stop people from continuing to ask the question. And as Sebastian said, that's what drives our creativity, because we're trying to know. We want to know.
And you have to keep asking. I never want anybody to stop asking. I feel like the problem, again, my problem is not to ask where we come from. Of course, ask, right? Because this is how we found out about ERVs. This is how we found out about DNA. This is how we found out about genetics, right? This is how we found out about a lot of things. We got to ask. I think I'm not against there being a God. One day we may dig deep enough, right, and run into God. One day we might really understand the fabric of space and time and rip it apart, and God just be sitting there like, hey, you found me. Right? And the day that happens, great. Right? But until we get there, keep asking. Don't assert what we don't know. Right? Like it is dishonest to assert what you do not know as fact.
Fact. Yep. You know what problem with Christianity is? That they feel like they're so arrogant that they know all the answers. That's my problem. They're not asking any questions. They feel like they know all the answers. They say that God did it. It's dishonest. It's definitely dishonest, because you don't know all the answers. You can't say God did it all because you don't really know.
You're going to run into a contradictory hypothesis at some point, and it's fair to either answer the question, I don't know, right? Or let me say, we don't know, or here is what we do know.
But they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that fast. They're going to say, hey, God did it.
Do that. Yep. And I think that's my problem with humanity itself, because in the end, we're still going to fill in the gap with our idea. It don't, and then we'll define our idea as the knowledge that created what's happening without measuring against what happened. You know, we just take my word for it. It happened, and I'm like, I don't care if you say Allah did it, Buddha did it, you said science did it. Look, show it to me. If you can't show it to me, you in the same goddamn boat as everybody else. If my thought got to make it happen, I don't want that responsibility for my thought and my belief to accept it for it to happen. I don't want none of that. Just let it happen, and I'll deal with being here. And then when it's time to go, I'm out, because that's what's happening to everybody. You can put your conclusions and ideas and draw blah blah blah. You're gonna be in the same goddamn boat as everybody else coming in here dumb, and you're gonna learn what's happening in the world, and then we out. Bam. And then you can draw conclusions on trying to figure it out.
This is true. I want to say one more point.
Great point.
Because eventually, because the answer, the truth of the matter is, I will never know it all, and I don't think we will ever know it all. But here's my shtick. It's not important I know it all, right? Like my man saying, right? I'm here for a good time, not a long time. We'll all end up dead at some point, right? If I know it all, is not really that important. But here is why I think it's so important that we don't stop asking. Human beings did this really, really wonderful thing that very few animals can do. A couple other animals have done something similar, but no other animal does it quite like us. And that is build upon information. Most animals build upon genetics, purely genetics, right? But we were able to use information like a gene and pass it along to our descendants, which is crazy, right? Right. So all the things that we know today are the floor of what they will know tomorrow, which is insane, right? Every other animal, they just here for the time that they here. They don't really get to leave nothing but some babies, right? We get to leave information, knowledge, foresight, right? Predictions. Okay. So if I'm thinking about, let's just say I'm looking at the beginning of the universe. I'm just using this as an example. And I understand, I look at the physics of the universe and I say, okay, we're expanding this way. We're all expanding away from each other. And I can tell that from the way that light is shifting. Okay. We're expanding. And that we seem to be expanding faster today than we were yesterday. We're really moving away from each other. Okay. All right. What's the rate that we're moving? Okay. See that. All right. Well, if that's the case, then that means yesterday was closer. Yesterday was closer. Let me subtract said rate. All right. At some point, we were not very far away. We would have collided into each other. Well, what would have happened as we collided? Okay. If keep subtracting. All right. Well, if that's the case, then there should be a whole lot of energy and heat that's left over from that, because it wouldn't have cooled down that fast. Let me look at the rate of cooling. Okay. There should be a cosmic microwave background that's about 2.7 degrees Kelvin. That's my prediction. Based on every observation I just saw, that's my prediction. Okay. If I look out there and find that thing, then I know I was right. Right? I know I was right. Oh yeah, there's that cosmic microwave background I predicted. And look at how hot is it? 2.7 degrees Kelvin. Okay, I'm understanding this because now I can make a prediction about it. Right? You don't really know a thing till you can tell me what's going to happen. Right? The power of science is not what we know, it's what I can tell you. It's what's going to happen next, not what I know. Right? I don't know it till I predict it. The problem with a God idea is I can make no accurate predictions. None. Right? I cannot. So I know that the universe is expanding. I know that it used to be smaller. I know that it used to be hotter. I know that because cosmic microwave background is still out there as proof of it. Right? That's not something I'm guessing. I know this is happening. I can look at the candle of the redshift. I know we're moving away fast. I know this. These are things I can test and predict, not just test and repeat, but predict. Did you know we just found out Neptune was out there a few years ago? We did not know Neptune existed. Mathematics told us Neptune was out there. We ran the math and we was like, oh, wait, this planet's moving funny, like something's pulling on it. Let's run the math on it. Okay, there has to be a large body about there. Go look out there. Boom, Neptune. Oh, we were right. Right? But that's because of what we understood. Math taught us Neptune was there. We didn't observe Neptune. We theorized Neptune. And the theory was right. Right? So the power in information is the prediction. And when I can make accurate, when my predictions line up with reality, now I know it. Right? I know that thing because I can predict how that's going to move. I know when Mercury going to go into retrograde. I can tell you the next 500 Mercury retrogrades right now. Right? Because I know how fast I'm going around the sun and how fast Mercury going around the sun. So I can tell you when it's going to appear behind me because we've lapped around. Because it's lapped around us. I can tell you when it's going to appear behind me. This isn't something magical. I can predict that. I know the way the planets move. Okay. When we back away from that knowledge, when we back away from it and say, "Oh, I cannot know it," and I'm not saying that you're saying that we cannot know it. I'm saying as a religious wall, right? Because I tell you what I cannot know, a lot of people are afraid to know what we can know. And in that regard, we are literally bowing down and worshiping our own ignorance. I'm bowing down and thanking the God of what I don't know. I'm thanking the God of what I don't understand. But I think it is counterproductive to worship my ignorance, right? I want to know everything that I cannot know it all. But no, let me not even say that. I do not know it all, but I want to know as much of it as I can. And I want to be able to use as much of it as I can. I want to be able to manipulate as much of it as I can. I'm tired of seeing, I am personally tired of seeing, and I'm going to shut up after this, some little Chinese man and a couple white boys from California get together and create Bitcoin. How'd they do that? Well, somebody had to know about finances. Somebody had to know about trade. Somebody had to know about stock. Somebody had to know about monetary systems. Somebody had to know about computers. Somebody had to know about the internet. Somebody had to know about the power consumption. Somebody had to really put some time, thought, and effort into knowing. You know why our community doesn't create Bitcoins? Because we think we cannot know.
Well, we should be on the guard opposite.
Yeah. We keep worshiping what we cannot know. And I don't, bro. It's a man right now. It's a man right now that just signed a contract with the Department of Defense to create anti-snake venom, right? Based on the mRNA research that they've been doing that gave us the last COVID vaccine. Okay, this man is going to die rich. His family is going to die rich. He's now a billionaire, right? All because he thought, oh, mRNA, what's that? Let me see what I can do with that. Us, on the other hand, they gonna put a chip in your arm, and then the devil
is that.
Then the 666 gonna come out.
Yeah, the conspiracy. See, that my problem with the whole thing is because like you said, us learning, gaining knowledge. Like that's what the whole show is based on. Our concept is striving to know more and do more with what we know.
That's I like that. By the way,
but the whole catch is, I find this. I'm seeing this as a human thing. This is my just perception from when I talk to people, what I've read. It seems like this ongoing, reoccurring thing. We figure out things, and then we use the things we figure out to justify what we believe started on, instead of just simply saying, "Look, bruh, can we just get away, bruh? You're never going to know this." And because I'm tired of y'all trying to use what we create, what we invent as the proof that your belief is created. And I ain't just talking about religion. I'm talking about pseudoscience as well, because they do the same damn thing. They'll be like, okay, we found the gene, the such and such, where the world's, bruh, stop trying to, bruh. It's impressive that we can do this stuff, but you ain't gotta try to sell me on that. You figured out how we get, bruh. I'm cool with that. You ain't gonna ever know. You don't have to sell me with that, bro. You won me at hello. At hello. We got all this shit that we can do. We finding finance. I'm impressed. You got me, bro. But don't try to sell me on the extra stuff. You don't know that. Stop.
That's a part. That's a part of believing.
I don't want to. You now you smell like a religion. Don't try to. I don't want to smell that no more, man. Just tell me what we can test, what you can do, what's happening now. And then I'm good. Now, I'm just saying me, because you got the reason why products are able to be sold is because you have a market for them. You ain't got a market here. I ain't gonna buy it, but it's millions and millions of people that will, so they'll continue to sell that shit.
Yeah, and I believe two things about this. One is, in order for me to predict the future, I do need to understand the past. Right, that's important for me. But starting now, what I can make with the things of the past, I can make them now, and I can affect the future. Right? I cannot affect the past. I cannot affect the past yet.
Nope.
Right. Just because we haven't figured out what do we call it? Anti-entropy. We haven't figured that out yet. Right. It seems as though entropy works one way. Right. We haven't figured out anti-entropy yet. But maybe one day we'll figure out anti-entropy. But as of now, we cannot, right? Right. So
allegedly that we haven't figured out.
Doc and Marty are too old.
I know, right? I know, right? Got to get a flux capacitor, put it on the
exactly. Marty McFly shit.
But
that nigga got Parkinson's. He can't fly nowhere.
Yeah, he can't.
But go ahead.
but my understanding of the past, my understanding of what happened yesterday, like for example, now I drive an electric car, but my car before this, of course, was gas, right? All my cars have been gas. All right, and gasoline is a billions and billions of dollars a year industry. How do they know where the gas is? How do we know where there's gasoline or oil, I should say? How do we know where the oil is?
They drill for it.
Well, but how do they know where to drill?
Technology.
Technology.
Okay.
Yeah, they're able to find it using technology.
I'm able to find it using technology. Okay. How would I know? And it is a technology, right? But what is that technology looking for? You know,
temperature,
certain gases,
density, different. Yeah, I get it.
I'm looking for certain exposure of layers of gravel. One, I'm looking for excess gases. I'm looking for certain temperatures. I'm looking for certain conditions that would say, oil's there, right? I'm making a prediction. I'm then moving billions of dollars of equipment on top of a prediction. Think about what I'm doing here, right? I'm moving billions of dollars of equipment off a prediction. If I'm wrong, my ass is grass.
Goddamn right it is. I'm fine, your ass.
So I need to know, hey, how old is this place? Is this old enough to give me oil? I have to know that. Because if I'm wrong, my ass is grass, right? Not only am I grass, the company that put up all this money is grass. An economy is shot, okay? My knowing this is of practical importance. If I'm looking for fossils, I could just go dig in the ground in random places. But no. What layer of ground am I in? How do I know this? I need to know this. Right? Otherwise, I'm going to waste everybody's money and time, and we're going to go broke. Right? This being said, it's important for me to understand how this place formed. I can build things based on how this place formed. I need to know how old this place is. But this is practically useful for me in certain arenas. Now, I make music for a living, bro. If you're really asking me, is the earth round or flat? I don't fucking care. What matters to me is this in C or C sharp? That's what matters to me, right? But in order for the GPS system to work that I use to get to work, somebody needed to know, is the earth round or flat? Okay? Yes. Someone had to accurately know that in order to keep the satellites up to give me GPS navigation so we can triangulate. Okay. Now that might not be useful to me. I mean, it is useful to me because I use the GPS, but that's not what I'm creating. In other words, you get what I'm saying? So I don't have to have a super deep knowledge of that thing per se. One of the great parts about being human is how social we are. I can trust you to do a thing that I don't have to do. I don't have to know how to build a computer to use one. Hell, I don't even have to know how to use one. I can barely use this thing in front of me, but I can use it enough to get this done, right? But somebody has to accurately know how this works, right? And when we get into the accurate knowledge of things, we can produce. My man said he got a tobacco farm down in Nicaragua, right? Right. He should be able to tell me stuff about tobacco that I do not know. I don't grow tobacco.
And I can't tell you that. Yes.
Right. But he should have an intimate knowledge of that thing because he produces that thing. I can tell you some stuff about weed that a lot of folk might not know because I produce it. Right. Okay. But I need to know these things in order that I might produce the product. Again, when I look around the world and I see people creating things, producing things that affect the world, that change the world, like this little box right here. This little box changed the world. Well, they had to intimately know some things. And I feel like us collectively, we are afraid of that intimate knowledge. Not afraid.
Yes.
Is that the word I want to say?
No, you can use that word, afraid, yes.
We are
Because
afraid of that intimate knowledge.
I'm gonna tell you why we're afraid of infinite knowledge. We're afraid of infinite knowledge because we don't want it to affect our belief in God. That's why we're afraid of the intimate knowledge.
Of course,
just
it would stop everything. We talked about everything from science to religion, especially on this show. We've discussed everything. We went from, trust me, we went from the nitty to the gritty, and we are still traveling down the rabbit hole. We've gotten to the point to where and I know, speaking for myself, that I live by. My religion is called I don't know.
I don't know.
Because I live by that, and which I study daily, because I don't know. I'm still searching. I don't have that brick wall in front of me called God that's stopping me from seeking out further knowledge. So I understand exactly what you guys are saying, what you're saying, especially. And we want to appreciate you for bringing your knowledge to the program, bro.
You guys, please Google Dr. Hadia Green. I don't know if you know her. If you don't know her, please Google her. Anybody that watches this, I try to make it my business to talk about her every time I'm on a podcast. This is a Black woman from St. Louis who graduated college in Alabama, who got her doctorate in physics. She has created a nanoparticle laser that has cured cancer in lab rats. She is raising money to move to human trials. Please Google her. Please support her mission.